When I become seated, I feel I'm in a more powerful place to choose, to make choices. During the day, I can be swept up by the momentum of time and action and sound, pulled outside through the physical senses. But when I'm sitting quietly, I realize I have a choice. I can be entangled in the outer world, completely dependent and affected by what's going on around me, or I can come inside, come indoors, return to my inner world, choose self-mastery, move into that sacred place inside where I can find everything I've been seeking outside. Within my own being, because I am a spiritual being, there is an unlimited reservoir of peace, of lightness, of bliss, of contentment, even power. The power to be kind. It's all found inside. Drawing from that reservoir where quality of life resides inside, within my own being, and starting to operate from the inside out. Introversion is the art of living from the inside out. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Good evening and welcome to Introversion Yogi. Tonight's topic, I think, actually is part 2 about introversion. And just listening to the reflection was reminding me of perhaps some things that the regular students have been asked to be mindful of within these past few weeks, might be a month now, of a trap of wanting to have an experience of oneself as a soul, but we're more caught into thoughts of thinking about being a soul and listening to the commentary about introversion, just being in that experience. Perhaps you could share. Someone may not have soul consciousness, so they could just be in the experience. So perhaps maybe for someone who hasn't taken Raja Yoga, what is practiced so that what I'm actually experiencing is accurate in introversion.
Om Shanti. The practice of being a soul involves two parts, and we really like one part, but we don't really like the other part. And so I've always enjoyed the very, very basic definition of Om Shanti, which we often say, I am a being of peace. But actually, that's the taking part. I'm having that experience. But actually, it's I am a soul separate from the body. And that piece about letting go of what I am not is very defining in ensuring that I'm accurate. Lots of things can create peace. I can think about the mountains and create peace. I can, but this idea of I've actually associated peace with purity first, but purity with truth, truth with detachment. So I spent a lot of time actually on the letting go piece, knowing the other bit will come very naturally. Even if I was to suggest now, to hold your hand in a really, really tight fist, because quite frankly, this is what our mind is like all the time. It's holding tight, attached to some idea or situation, holding it very tight. Now, after a while, this becomes painful, very peaceless for the hand. Now I could say, okay, take peace, take peace. It's like, well, first I need to release. And actually, the act of releasing is very peaceful. So rather than focusing on all these beautiful thoughts with rainbows and unicorns and puppy dogs, let me do the thing that probably frightens me a lot, but the letting go. I am separate from the body. I am a soul. Nothing physical is mine. And that truth brings peace.
So, this aspect that you mentioned about the purity of truth, because asking someone to let go just without telling them, and even sometimes I hear souls mention there's a letting go, whether they have knowledge or not, and it's a hit and miss, whatever they're experiencing. And so, this aspect of truth, is it possible that, old ideas of letting go and experiences of that can still get in the way?
I'm sure a lot of things are going to interfere with letting go. The fact that I'm addicted to what I'm holding on to, the fact that I'm afraid of not having that, even though it's actually quite damaging, and I can see that. You even say to someone who's having a thought, and they can feel that it's of no use whatsoever, but they can't let go. So again, we kind of use the truth or replacement or understanding. So this is a very non-violent form of letting go. So the truth is, I'm a soul, I'm an eternal being, everything around me is temporal. And then there's this sort of natural reframing that hopefully starts to happen. But I've always found disinterest a very critical component. I have to be ready to do this. You can't force it on someone. They really need to be open or ready.
So, in the commentary, just being immersed in that experience, is that something that gets better through time? Because actually, many students, young and very new, young in the study, like new in the study, and probably those who've been in the study for a long time, they struggle with falling asleep, struggle with, and that's quite an interesting one, especially when you do have some other schools of thought where sleeping, checking out, it's still a valuable experience for some.
Yeah, that's really connected to the replacement idea. I'm not letting go to nothing, which will definitely put me to sleep. Kind of just zoning out. I think it's quite some find it quite merciful to be asleep. And I think we all know often, even when souls are depressed, they sleep a lot. So, but I'm letting go by replacing it with the truth. So it's almost as like my eyes fly open, and that is a sign actually. Not falling asleep, open eyed meditation is almost a metric that I'm on the right track. And that I'm not just going into a nothingness, but I'm actually engaging in something else. Again, where I naturally let go, I understand or realize something else, and it engages me completely. So it's a sign that I'm actually going in the right direction.
Are there signs, would you say, in terms of just thinking a lot? Because one could also be very engaged by thinking a lot. So, in terms of recognition and realization, where do those play a part versus like analysis? Um, or even just, I've had some souls would ask about, I could be having really seemingly powerful thoughts, but I can think my way into being very, either happy or elevated, but it's still not the real thing.
It's about being a soul that I really liked the moment I heard it was I am a soul, I am silence. Silence plays a huge role as well, a sign I'm going in the right direction, a very beautiful and full experience of silence. The idea of what we call churning or thinking a lot is that it moves me into less and less thought and more feeling in that silence. So if I'm just having more and more thought, then I need to check how I'm using the information. I should be able to go beyond, almost a little bit beyond the thought, just into pure feeling or vibration, however you wish to consider that. And that happens in this space called silence. It isn't empty, it's very full and rich. It's just not a lot of chatter. So even if I think about connecting to God, we do that in silence. Yes, there's a deep habit in things such as, not always, but such as something like prayer, where there's a lot of dialogue with God. And this idea of silence, just an exchange of feelings and vibration with that being. He literally becomes universal at the moment. Whether you speak one language or another language, what language do we all ultimately have this communication with this being is silence, feelings, and vibrations.
I'm really glad that you're bringing up the topic of silence because the original topic was actually trusting the power of silence. But I do feel that there's definitely a relationship between introversion and silence. And when you're sharing about being able to go into that experience and those pure feelings and vibration, so it is connected to the original topic I was going to have in terms of like, is it perhaps maybe because we've had negative connotations, negative void like experiences of silence, that there's also a fear of even trusting like the experience of silence, that it can emerge what is needed inside of me, not to cope with situations, but just what is needed as I continue to progress in the study.
Definitely, it would be much easier if we came to all of this as a blank slate without any previous ideas or opinions or beliefs. And I know that sounds very radical. I love this class we review, where the first sentence was, to have this experience, there needs to be humility, a willingness and openness to let go of old ideas and beliefs. And within that is a trust that there is an inner wisdom or an inner memory that's just covered by a lot of other stuff within each of us. And again, the more I'm able to kind of open up, whether we use the word let go or not, but allow that inner memory to awaken. So we need lots of signposts to know that we're going on the right track. So becoming more simple, more essential. We live in a world which is just so complex and expansive. And this is in our thinking as well. I think a big sign that I am going in the right direction is I actually think less. I remember once, so I'm probably going to get this wrong, but knowledge change in some ways the quality of what I'm thinking, but in silence, the quantity of thinking reduces. So I'm having less thoughts, more feelings. If there are other habits, and the odds are there are, that we don't come to this as a blank slate. So now I need to also be what we call, and a huge part of introversion, a detached observer. I need to watch what I'm doing to my objective. I remember this is a huge part of training in what we call any aesthetic sport, that you develop the habit of being able to look at yourself with so much cleanliness and clarity to see exactly what you are doing, relative to what's being asked. So developing this habit of being a detached observer, an honest observer of the self, is really important.
When you were sharing, it's we were connected because we were talking about falling asleep, but it's many Raj Yoga students really want that silence, the real thing. It turns into it turns into sleep.
Stage person here.
We have a stage person here. Thank you. um, what's going on? Is it again old habits intercepting? Because I know we had shared one time very senior brothers in this study, a very systematic way to stay in that experience. But like maybe, I don't know, like are we in that experience and then we drop out? Or were we not in that proper experience in the first place? Or is it we don't know how to sustain it? I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
One thing, observations of myself, is to acknowledge there's a lot of opposition from inside to what we're trying to do, that's trying to stop us from going inside. Because with the falling asleep, I suspect for many, they have often either they've fallen asleep or that they are falling asleep. Just suddenly I'm gone. So who knows what is going on? Some position from inside, and that position comes in just putting us asleep. So we're not able to actually connect in a way to the experience. It stays two dimensional, which will put us to sleep. But also the position keeps us so busy that we're exhausted. So the moment we sit down, it's just, oh, thank goodness, I can sleep now. So I don't think that's the overt thought, obviously not. But in both cases, it's the opposition, right? That we're not able to manage our energy well. So I just have to look at myself and kind of really, if I want it, I'm so many trainers saying, when you ask, can you give me the technique? Can you give me the method? Can you give me some tips? And they just look at me and said, look, if you really want this, you'll figure it out, which was the best advice ever.
Maybe you're going to say that with my next question. We had a lovely, lovely experiment, which you were at the Peace Village retreat. Brother Ken was leading, and it was about churning. You use that word, but for those who are regular students, you're learning about knowledge, you're listening to it, but to be able to distill something that's significant and for that to actually translate into like a really full, deep experience inside, to trust that is going to help me through the day, clarity, what to say. But again, not about coping, but just trusting silence. It really came up today. And I wonder if souls just, they're afraid of like trusting that. And so it's just easier to stay in thoughts and analyze or creating an essay in my head or whatever the case is. Perhaps maybe there's more fear than we realize.
So refer to this knowledge we study is as extremely valuable. We say jewels, very, very valuable. And what that's suggesting is the word meaningful to us means I've recognized I can attain something through this. There's the experience of there's something in it for me. So when we're asked to identify from our morning class a single point that is meaningful, what has gone on in my head, hopefully, is this particular point is going to give me some attainment that nothing else can. So when I'm going through the day, I might notice I'm starting to look for other things or some kind of attainment. I remember that no, that's not going to give me attainment. This point from this morning, that was my experience today, anyways, as I was watching and thought, no, time and again, I naturally came back to that point because I associated attainment with it. So this is, we think about things that we deem to be valuable, or inversely, we think about things that we deem have stripped us of our value. But it's all around values. So I have to connect spirituality and silence. It's going to get me somewhere valuable. Once that penny is dropped, things become a whole lot easier. And that becomes an organizing principle or anchor as I go through the day. It becomes the center of my universe. And I start to organize things around it. It's not even about trust, it's about recognition. I have recognized this will create value for me. That needs, so we jokingly refer to God, amongst other things, as the businessman, that he does the business of restoring the value to the soul. He gives us very valuable things in exchange for things that we thought were valuable, but actually begin to recognize what we want.
Thank you. Very practical, useful aspects to really pay attention to, especially connecting introversion. What am I supposed to do inside in silence? But perhaps we'll have a little reflection.
Wow, we're ending on time. This is exciting. Hmm. So, And yes, I can experiment with the eyes open. As I start to think about introversion, I realize that for much of the day, even though my physical eyes are open, I'm walking, moving around, interacting, appearing very productive, I actually might be sleepwalking through a lot of my day. My inner awareness is off, asleep. I'm not having so. Yes, I'm aware of the body, but not aware of myself, the being inside, separate from the body. I'm sleepwalking. That's a moment I need to stop, be quiet, and remember. In a physical world, or physical sense, it's that wakes us up. But spiritually, it's quiet, silence, introversion that wakes us up. I reconnect to myself. I feel my own presence as a soul, and that feeling is always peaceful, whatever's going on around me. Peace inside, a sign I'm awake. Maintaining that stage is moving through the day in a wakeful state. Shanti.
Shanti, thank you for joining with us this evening. And just to learn about meditation, which is the next one is offered on Saturday, June 28th, again, 12:15 to 1:30 p.m. You don't have to register, which is available on the Eventbrite, but please do come to the front desk just to check in to let them know. Also, a reminder, we do have a relatively new drop-in evening meditation sessions also at the Academy on Thursdays at 6:30 to 7 o'clock. Once again, let the front desk know you're there. And a warm reminder of Inner Freedom, the public event that is happening at Great Eagle Event Center on Friday, August 22nd. If you are interested in registering to know about what that pre-experience journey can be like, if you want to be a part of that, fully of benefit for oneself, or also to be notified when seat reservations are available as well. Please visit the website calgary.brahmakumaris.ca. Lots of other sessions as well. If you look at the website, if you go onto Eventbrite as well, lots of drop-in meditation sessions. So thank you for joining with us this evening. Om Shanti.